My name is Jamie Prickett. I'm the co-CEO of AOG and co-founder of Experior. I'm a father of 9, husband of 1, and grandfather of 1. So what this really meant for me personally was that I am this little kid, growing up in a small town. I was a wrestler. I always wanted to be an Olympian, and I was never good enough, right? I never got to that level. But when I started building Experior with my wife, that was our chance to become like champions of the industry, so to speak. And, our goal is still to become #1 in Canada, #1 in North America, #1 in the world one day. But partnering with AOG or merging our organizations with AOG, I believe it's really just put us 5, 10 years further into the future. I'm super excited because I feel like our game's been leveled up. I used to play Mario when I was a kid, and it's like, I feel like we're going into like a new stage of the game. Like this is like, we were getting pretty good at this one level, but we played it for a long time, and now we're ready to advance. And that's what we're doing here with AOG is we're advancing, and we're advancing all of our leaders in the business. I think we're advancing the industry as a whole. I think the industry truly needs what we have. For me personally, I'm excited that if all goes well, we will be IPO ready, if not an IPO, before my 50th birthday. I plan to take that time to work my tail off like never before, and then spend my 50s helping this organization, God willing, become one of the most successful IPOs in history. So that's what really excites me. I feel like I've been able to stretch my vision even more, and I was already fired up. You ask anybody, I was already so fired up. We just had record recruiting months, record premium months before the AOG Alliance, right? Month after month, we continue to grow. Now with this alliance, I feel like we're just going to continue to do great things and ultimately change a whole boatload of lives along the way. One thing that's been really exciting about this is that I've always had a big vision. I mean, anyone that gets around me, they think probably think I already think too big. I feel like I'm not even scratching the scratch on the surface of what we're going to be able to do. I look at our company, Experior, 12,600 agents or whatever it is as of today in the recording of this video. But I feel like we're just getting this thing warmed up now. And it's like, I finally figured out how to do this effectively. And now along comes Monte, the AOG opportunity. And now it's just taken us to a whole new level. See, at one time, I was dreaming of the day that Experior would become $1 billion company, right? I thought that would be just amazing. 30% of our company was already owned by executive directors in the organization. Our long-term plan was that at least half the company would be owned by agents in the organization. But now it's not just Experior one company. We have the opportunity to bring on hundreds, if not thousands of companies under the banner of AOG and not just becoming a successful stock company. My vision now has become like maybe one day Fidelity is going to be having investments buying our stock, in some of their mutual fund portfolios, or Dynamic's going to own some of our stock in their portfolios. I look at like the Canada Pension Plan. Maybe they're going to be investing in our portfolio. I got these crazy ideas that not only are we going to create wealth for the people and the agencies and the agents that partner with AOG, but how much can we help people achieve wealth through our stock program when we become a public company? So I'm not just thinking like, oh, go public, that's the end game. I'm like, that's day one. I'll be in my late 40s, maybe early 50s, depending on when that actually happens. And then it's like, man, I get to run this thing for the rest of my life, God willing, to drive up that stock price and help people create wealth, just as Warren Buffett did. And I'm not trying to compare myself, but I love that idea, of what some great successful people that were visionaries had. And I feel like partnering with Monte, it's just taken my big brain of thinking, like my big dreams, I guess I should say, and they've just stretched them even bigger. So I'm pumped, man. I'm so jacked. It's a little new to really identify exactly what our roles look like. I'll give you an example. Today, I just met with a great leader of a group of agents, and right after talking with them, they got really excited. I shared with them about AOG and what we're doing. And my next step was, hey, I'd like to introduce you to Monte, right? And then Monte's going to have a situation where he's like, hey, now I'd like to introduce you to Jamie, which we've had. So I feel like we're playing kind of off of each other's strengths a little bit. One thing I could say about Monte is he's got the credibility like nobody in the industry. I mean, people that know him, they know he's a trusting individual. He's a great guy. I'm younger in the industry, even though I'm 24 years in, but I'm younger in terms of having success in the industry. So I think a lot of people, they'll hear me and my drive and my excitement. So I bring that rah, let's get this thing going. And then Monte's like, but here's how we're going to do it. And this is the strategy. And this is our step-by-step plan. Monte's, what he's done also is he's brought in relationships of some incredible minds, people that have already brought companies public. One of the investors in our company, small investor, because we're looking for agents and agencies to own this thing. So, but as a credibility piece, it's important to have other outside investors. This guy already took a company public on his own, right? Well, with a team of people, but he was the founder, took that thing public. So he's brought a lot of those people in. What I think we've brought in is I think we brought in a lot of the youth, the excitement, the energy. We've got great systems already in place that are now going to be able to overlap into helping the other partners in the organization. I just think it was a match made in heaven. But as far as decision making, we have a board of directors that we report to ultimately. Monte and I both serve on the board. Leanne, the now president and CEO of Experior, also serves on the board. Jerry Vall, who is previous director of strategic mergers and acquisitions, he's also on the board of AOG. There's 6 of us on the board that make the decisions right now. But as far as the day-to-day operations, those are things that we're honing and revising as we move forward. So the companies that would be a great alliance with AOG, number one would be companies with integrity. You have character, integrity, morals, good ethics. You want to do right by your agents, number one, because that's how we started and built Experior to the point it is today. If it wasn't better for the agents, we flat out didn't do it. So I like companies that operate that way. But from more of a business standpoint, I would say companies of all sizes, assuming they haven't already sold their company, right? Because a lot have, right? Some people cashed out their chips and that's great. And that was a decision that they wanted to do for their family and their team or whatever. For us, we're looking for companies that aren't owned by anyone else, but they want to be in an allegiance with another larger company, right? I believe that we can look outside of the box sometimes and we see things that we never knew were right in front of us. I would have never in a million years imagined that I'd be talking to you today as co-CEO of AOG. I didn't even know AOG existed 3 months ago. And I was 100% gung-ho that we're going to build Experior. It's the only thing in the world. There's nothing else. I had no intention of ever doing what we just did. But when the opportunity presented itself, I had to step back, put my ego aside and say, do I want to really grow in this thing? Do I really want to do something big? And so those people that are willing to, a lot of times it's ego. A lot of times companies, they think, or people that run companies think, well, we're not big enough yet, or we're growing too fast, so why do it? Well, here's the question. What if you came inside or alongside AOG and we could grow 5 times faster together, or 10 times faster, or 100 times faster? We're not just growing by organic growth, which is what Experior has always been doing. We're growing by acquisition growth as well. It's going to be very difficult to keep pace with that. So even if you have a small EBITDA right now or no EBITDA right now, we want to talk to you. We want to have a conversation to see, hey, is there an opportunity that we can work together and build this? Another thing is, if you're the type of leader that always wants to do right by your agents, like when it comes down to making more profit or putting more into the agent's pocketbook, you choose the side of the agent. Those are the kind of people we're looking to work for. On the flip side, maybe you're an agent and you're looking at other opportunities and you're like, man, what else is out there? I can't promise you that we have a home for you, but we have multiple companies, RIA firms, IMOs, under the umbrella of AOG that you can partner with. And I would suggest that you get that information. Now, we're not looking for people to go out there and break their covenants with their existing IMOs or relationships that they might already have with other MGAs in the industry. But if you are free, and meaning you're not owned by another agency, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but a lot of insurance organizations out there feel like they own their people. But if you have the freedom to actually venture and look at other opportunities, come take a look at this. And maybe you're working with a company and you want to bring the owner of that agency or that company to take a look at this with you. Please open the door up to the conversation, because what you don't know can hurt you. Leanne is and has been the backbone of Experior from the day we started, right? A lot of people think because they see my mug on the screen or I'm the one that's out there doing the meetings that I must be the guy running the show. No, Leanne's been always the backbone of the entire organization. She's not the one that needs the recognition and being in front and on the screens and stuff like that. So I think she's the only suited fit for CEO and president of Experior. They're quite honestly, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of amazing corporate C-suite staff, but I think that the best, most logical choice, not just because she's my wife, right? Some people, oh, that's, what's that word? Nepotism. This wasn't nepotism. You ask anyone that works at head office, they'll tell you who runs the show around here. I was just introducing myself to you today, and I think you've been with us for a while now. Leanne definitely runs the show. The other thing is that Leanne, like myself, has a heart for the agents. And that's what's needed, I think, to run these companies. There's some big corporations. There is one corporation, I can't mention names, I'm trying to be very politically correct, but there's a company out there where the CEO's out there talking trash about other competitors in the marketplace. And in my mind, I'm going, you've never been in the field. You have no idea what it's like to be on a commission income. And here you are talking trash about competitors when you're the company that's a little bit of trash, if you want to be honest, right? I mean, they're kind of like the armpit of the insurance industry, and they're talking smack about other companies. Well, Leanne has been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, and I believe that she will be probably one of, if not the best CEOs of an insurance marketing organization that we'll ever see in our lifetime. So one of the big defining moments for me was when there was a large organization in the US and we were trying to expand Experior into the US. And I was connecting with them and trying to get some advice on where we can go to get our contracts and stuff like that. And maybe we could partner in some way, help us piggyback your contracts. And then they ended up proposing to me that why don't they just buy Experior? Now we're already having great success in Canada. We're wanting to go into the US. And they said, listen, if we buy Experior, that'll get our company into Canada. They have a massive YouTube channel and they got a lot of influence. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like to think that little old us, this was 6 years ago now, 6.5 years ago. And I remember that he mentioned to me on the phone, he talked to my wife and I, and he said, Jamie, when we sold some equity in our company, because at the time, back in the day, they'd sold some equity in their company. But he goes, when we had millions drop into our bank account overnight, he goes, that was life-changing for us. And at the time, Leanne and I, we weren't like financially independent, but we were doing okay. And I was like thinking, wow, like millions of dollars, interesting. And then I actually went to the washroom in the office here. I walked down the hall and I looked into the mirror and I started crying. And I was looking at myself and I looked at myself crying after this moment. And I was like, do I have what it takes to be at that person's level? Like, can I get to that level without them? And I ended up, sucking it up and going, okay, whatever, I'm fine. I could do this. I don't need to sell, whatever, right? And it wasn't like I was thinking about it, but I was questioning myself. And I remember going home and I called my dad and I said, hey, Dad, you wouldn't believe it. This big company offered to buy Experior. Can you imagine? Like, we could have cashed out for millions. And at the time, that was seeming like a lot of money, like several $1 million. And he goes, well, Jamie, he goes, I don't know much about business. My dad doesn't know much about, some, but about big business, right? Never been in our world. And he goes, but I do know something. He goes, there's a reason they want to buy you. Don't sell. And I was like, no, Dad, I was never thinking of selling. That'd be crazy, right? And I wasn't. But hearing that from my dad and just that belief that he had in me, even though I never had any post-secondary education or anything like that, I think for me, that was one of those defining moments where it was like, I do have what it takes. I mean, this other man had way more success and to this day has had way more success than me. Doesn't mean that I can't be there, right? And I just know that every day I'm going to get better and better. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be as successful, maybe more, but it's not a competition between me and that guy. It's a competition between me and myself. How good can I get, right? So that I can make an impact in people's lives. So that was probably one of the biggest defining moments for me. So one piece of advice I would give every brand new entrepreneur and seasoned entrepreneur at that is stay consistent, right? A lot of people can be successful for 1 or 2 months. Some people have a good 1 or 2 days. Some people have a good 1 or 2 years. I've been in this business for 24 years and some people go, wow, Jamie, it's like overnight success. Look at you. And this, what they don't see is that for 24 years, I've been consistent. 24 years of consistency. A lot of people want this variety in life, like all these options and choices to do things. Like I'd love to have variety in my life. This is something I heard from Monte actually earlier today, funny enough. He says, he was sharing how he's over in Europe right now, traveling the world, and he has all this variety in life. He goes, but it's the monotony that will get you to the degree where you can have that variety. And I have been very monotonous. I've been doing the same damn thing day after day after day after day, getting a little bit better day after day after day, every year after year after year. And 24 years later, we've finally started to see some decent success. I don't think it's going to take everyone 24 years. Some people can do it in a couple of years. But I do know that if you want to make big impact in people's lives and you want to have success in business, new or old in the business, stay consistent every single day. I was never the one that broke a daily record. Hey, I booked the most appointments today, or I booked the most interviews today. But I always book something every day, just a little bit every single day, and it compounds over time. So my advice would be to stay consistent.
Between you and Leanne, who tells the better dad jokes?
I'd say Leanne, definitely. Her jokes are cheesy.
She said you. She said you were.